summer of 2022, we went to Alaska. Before going, I was really curious as to what kind of clothing I was going to need. I had looked at some YouTube videos and there just wasn't very much information. So I thought I would share with you the types of things that we took with us as far as clothing goes, the things that worked for us, and the things that we had to purchase because we just didn't bring with us. The one thing I did learn before we went to Alaska by reading a lot of blogs and looking online is that people said to dress in layers. So I did heed that advice and we brought layers. I don't like bulky clothes, so one of the things that I brought that I wanted to talk about for those of you who are cold-natured like I am, I brought along yoga pants that are fleece lined. These things were awesome. I wore them almost all of the time. So I highly recommend them to you if you're from Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee like I am. You might have thin blood and you'll be a little colder in Alaska than normal folks. You can get them on Amazon. Mine are a brand called Avalanche and they work really great. They wash really well. Turn them inside out, throw them in the washing machine, and you can also dry them, which is really important when you're going to Alaska because unless you have a washer and dryer in your rig, you're going to be using laundromats, and laundromats are expensive and you want to be able to throw your clothes into the washing machine and as well dry them. When you are camping in damp weather, trying to hang your wet clothes in your camper is not a good idea. So you want to bring clothing that you can dry. In line with the theme of staying warm in Alaska, we also brought wool hats, gloves, and scarves. Did we use them? Absolutely. There are some places, especially when we went on the cruise from Valdez on the Lulu Bell and we went out to the glacier area. That is really, really cold. Dress like it's winter because if you don't, you'll spend all of your time inside the boat instead of outside the boat enjoying all of the beautiful scenery. So yes, take some winter clothes with you. You will use them when you're in Alaska. If you've watched any of our other videos, you know that we went to Alaska in a camper van. It's small, but we still had to bring various clothing for various weather, spring, summer, and winter. So here's a trick. I'm going to show you a piece of clothing, but you can buy these pillowcases, decorative pillowcases without the inserts on Amazon. And we use them for storing jackets and sweatshirts that we don't need at various times. I'm showing you this one because when we left, this is what we took with us. This is my husband's. It's really warm. It's a nice down jacket, very packable. You can pack it up really small. And he did use it once or twice, but what he needed was something that would cut the wind. So when we were down in Homer, we purchased this jacket at one of the campgrounds, and it cuts the wind. So whatever you pack, make sure that it's going to be windproof as well as warm. If you've done any research at all about what kind of clothing to bring to Alaska, or even watched any YouTube videos on people who went to Alaska, you know you are going to need rain gear. So now I want to show you some of the rain gear that we took and why we took it. Of course, everyone needs a really good raincoat. I bought these off of LL Bean. No, they were not cheap. They were expensive, but boy, did they ever work. They're very packable, as you can see. They have a hood, which is crucial because you don't want to be running around looking for a rain hat. And if you do have a rain hat, which I did bring, you can put this under the hood. So a very packable, waterproof, not water resistant, waterproof raincoat is a necessity when you go to Alaska. Next, let's talk about rain boots. So when we were getting ready to go, of course, you're spending a lot of money already, all the gear that you think you're going to need when you go to Alaska. There are two types of boots that Alaskans wear a lot. The Extra Tough brand, and the other one is the Muck boots. They're both really great boots, but they're both really expensive. Over $100 each. And at the time that I decided I needed some rain boots or rain shoes, I went to Amazon and I purchased a pair pair of sloggers. These did work. However, there were many occasions when the puddles were deeper and I wished I would have had some boots that came up at least to my ankles. So if you're going to go on Amazon and purchase some sloggers, you might want to purchase some that are a little higher than these shoes, or get yourself a pair of muck boots or some extra toughs. Another item that I recommend to go with your rain gear is either a ball cap or a rain hat like this, something that has a bill on it. Because when you're outside and it's pouring down rain and you're trying to do something and you need your hands free, at least this bill on your cap and your rain hat will keep your face dry and you'll be able to see what you're doing. As we all know, the mosquitoes throughout the Alaska Highway and in Alaska are terrible. Sometimes we would get out of our car and they would immediately swoop in and swarm around us and start biting. I asked someone in Whitehorse, a lady who works out on the roads, and she directs traffic on the roads, my goodness, how do you deal with the mosquitoes? And she said, I buy the clothing that is mosquito proof and it works really well. We found a DEET that did work well for us, but we also use the Thermacell, the little handheld things, or you clip them onto your belt, and they did work to help also. But just in case, I took along a head net. I used it over top of this hat. So I wore this hat, and then this head net would fit right over top. Now, did I use it? Absolutely, I used it. We took a gold panning tour and they took us out into the middle of the woods to a stream. The mosquitoes were terrible out there, and I wore this head net. You'll see it in this clip, and it worked great. I'm really glad I brought it. It doesn't take up hardly any space at all, and they're cheap. When we were down in Homer, as I said earlier, it got really windy and it got cold. One of the things that I did wind up purchasing, I bought a wool sweater. There's a really nice place in Homer where you can buy hats and sweaters. It really kept me warm. If you have some wool sweaters, I recommend that you take at least one of them, one that will keep you warm when the weather is chilly and you don't want to wear two coats. Another thing that was important to me was what type of shoes should I bring? My husband and I are not hikers. However, we did think we might want to walk around some towns. We might want to go out on a short hike, and I didn't know, do I need hiking boots everywhere I go? Do I just need walking shoes? What should I buy? So in the end, I went with just regular walking shoes. As you can see, they do have a pretty high bottom on them so that they can withstand a little bit of rain. These proved to be perfect. We did not need the hiking boots, but if you are a hiker, you may want to get them. I do want to talk a little bit about socks. Here in Tennessee, I usually wear cotton socks because they work great here, but I did not find them to be suitable when I got to Alaska. The weather's damp and chilly. They just felt damp all of the time. So I purchased some wool socks at various places. These are Smart Wool. I do like the Smart Wool. They're washable. They don't shrink. They really did keep my feet warm and not feeling damp all of the time. So I highly recommend some Smart Wool socks. They're not cheap either, about $20 each, but I think you'll be glad you got them. So a little bit about the weather and other clothes that we did bring. I'm not going to show you because they're just standard clothing. I did bring a pair of shorts, and yes, I wound up wearing them. You would be in Alaska and you'd be moving around, and one place that you would be in would be 40 degrees and be wearing a jacket, and the next day you'd go somewhere and it would be 80 degrees. And when it's 80 degrees in Alaska, it's hot. So I did wear my shorts. I would suggest that you bring at least one set of summer clothes so that you'll have something when it's really warm there. In case you haven't seen our other videos where we introduce ourselves, I'm Juanita and my husband is Mark. We travel in a touring van. We modified it so that we can go camping in it. It was a trip of a lifetime to go up the Alaska Highway and into Alaska to visit all the wonderful sights, see the glaciers, see the mountains, and see all of the wildlife. If you have questions about any particular kind of clothing, put the question down in the comment section and I'll be sure to answer them as best I can. And I hope your trip to Alaska is as wonderful as ours was. We'd like to go back.